All right. There, I unmuted. Yay! Okay.
Sweet.
Okay, should we go in a circle and introduce ourselves?
Such an abstract concept when we're all not next to each other.
Yeah.
Want to lead off, Michael?
Well, I'm kind of halfway through dinner. I'll go next. Let me go next.
I'll start. I'm Bo. I live in Brooklyn, New York. I've known about the DDP for a pretty long time, but I just kind of got involved recently because I kind of have a technical background in like industrial design, electrical engineering, and animation, so I have some stuff that I could contribute to whatever we want to do. I don't know who's next in the circle because I'm sure everyone's line at the bottom is different. But
I'll go next. My name is Michael Garcia. I live in San Francisco. I threw a DDP on November 15th that was a massive success, and I am looking forward to throwing the second local DDP on February 14th. We are going to fix Valentine's Day and all of the bullshit that is associated with it. I first got involved in 2011 on the Strictly Business Tour, helped Gary and the crew throw a party down in Phoenix. I was pretty much hooked at that point, and when I moved to San Francisco and realized there wasn't people doing that up there, I decided that I should do it. So, who's next?
I'll go. I'm Ava Petakovich, and I'm going to school here for IT at University of Missouri, and I learned about DDP through the internet and met Gary through Facebook and was talking with him about the DDP lore and various, I don't know, parts of it, and then I ended up coming down to help them throw one of their DDPs in Austin, Texas. I think this was 2 years ago at South by Southwest. So that was what got me hooked, and I started collecting boomboxes after that and have my own rig here in Columbia. So that's kind of what got me started.
Cool. Yeah, I guess I'll go. Hi guys, I'm Blanche. I've been involved since, I guess it was 2011 when Gary put out a call that the Austin DDP boombox fleet needed a home. So I volunteered and have since had a whole bunch of boomboxes in my possession, and it's been really great. And the first one I went to was probably 2010 because I got the boomboxes 2011 and then had them 2012 when the one that Eva was talking about happened. We recently had one on January 3rd that went off very well. We're going to do another one sometime between now and May, and then in May we plan to go out to Burning Flipside and do what the Canadians do at Burning Man, just at our local regional Burning Man affiliated event, and see how that goes. We're gonna have a theme camp, and have all the boom boxes out there. So it's gonna be interesting. We're gonna see what happens. But Rose is my third in command. My second in command was not able to be here, so we are trying to represent as best we can. But yeah, Rose has been great. She's been here since the beginning, and we're just now kind of getting off the ground.
Josh? All right. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was going to just go. I'm Rose. I saw you guys when you first came to Austin. I also went right after that to the one you did in Houston, where, forget what hotel we crashed. There was a girl that you knew there, I think, when she was on a date, maybe. But that was really awesome. And so I met Blanche on Meetup, and yeah, so I've just been helping out. I'm really more into the costumes and the theater part of it, obviously. But it's a lot of fun, and I really support the message.
Awesome. Josh, do you want to type an intro? Or I can intro you if you want. There it is. Does everyone see what he wrote?
Yep.
No.
It says, I live in Minneapolis, learned of Gary via Horse the Band / Earth Tour. That's like a documentary I did a while ago. And I guess we've kept in touch since then, and we met him. He helped out in 2012, the Minneapolis DDP, and he's been pretty stoked to get his own going there ever since. So yeah, I guess thanks for everyone coming out. It's too bad there's another guy from Australia. He's done like I think 18 parties now, and Drew's he did a couple years ago. But yeah, basically just hoping to get everyone together to discuss people that have done a few on their own and people that want to start doing them independently, and we could just have a good chat about what's worked, what hasn't, what kind of questions you guys have, and hopefully apply that into your own parties, and also this DDP field manual been working on here for about the last year. I'm not sure who's seen what pieces of it. I sent the technical, like the rough technical version out to a few of you, just so you could have some assistance figuring that stuff out. But yeah, basically just an open discussion, anything we want to talk about and figure out the best way to move ahead. One of the things I think is pretty important is to figure out some kind of an online forum where anyone can just go on at any time and discuss, like transmitters, batteries, just a good place where we can all openly collaborate on all this stuff. So if anyone has any
experience running a forum here,
I know Eva was checking it out.
Yeah, we were looking at a couple forums, Gary and I. One of them was Vanilla. He just sent me a link about one called Discuss that I have seen running in various places, but I don't know if it's like a full-out a thing that we can just pick up and run with. But what were you saying, Blanche? I'm sorry.
Well, I've had experience with PHP BB, which is pretty, simple out of the box. You install it, and then it has modules that add functionality. You have themes that, determine the way it looks. Honestly, a secret group on Facebook might be better. I know that a traditional forum would have more of a traditional feel in that we could, get things, keep it organized that way. But the Facebook groups allow us to have discussion forum kind of posts. And so that might be a little bit less backwards for some people, because I know what I would be doing, but I'm not sure if everybody else would be able to navigate how to post links and pictures and stuff like that.
I think Facebook is a great forum, and I think that we should probably, I would personally love to see a group of the people on this call, or the type of people that are on this call. But my concern is that Facebook is not a great place for storing institutional knowledge, and a forum, I feel, a traditional forum is much more well suited to that type of thing.
Oh yeah, totally. I'm just more talking about for the user, the end user experience. Now, if we just don't really care, we're gonna be like, hey guys, figure this out, then let's do it. Because
honestly, I think that anybody that has their shit together enough to even seriously consider throwing a party probably has their shit together enough to figure out how to use a forum if they don't know how to use one already.
Oh yeah, no.
There's somebody typing right now. Could you, if you're gonna type, could you mute your keyboard or mute your line so that we can't hear the keyboard? That would be awesome. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry.
No,
what were you saying?
I'm right there with you. I don't know. I've run into some incredibly smart people that you would think would know how to do something like a forum. So that's the only reason why I was like, We're talking about, but if nobody cares, nobody's concerned, then hell, let's do it.
I'd like to see both because, frankly, I think a forum would be hard to keep track of for like the sort of day-to-day stuff that that Facebook is really perfect for. Like, hey, check out this event, yada yada. But a forum is a great place to assemble an FAQ, keep threads that are like equipment-based threads, things that are going to be useful for people to go back to.
Yeah, things that need direct links.
Yeah, I think both will be a good option, probably, for sure.
I would agree with that.
I was thinking like there'd be different sections, like transmitters, batteries, I don't know what else, banana suits. There's a lot of potential things
Police
people would want to
etiquette.
discuss on there. Yeah, that'd be great, too.
It'd be cool if we put a link to every kind of duct tape on Amazon.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I've got some links to tape that you should
A lot of variations. Yeah, maybe we could get some kind of Groupon thing going, too, once we have enough collective buying power.
Huh.
Well,
And
I mean,
guess
that is an idea. I mean, I don't think we've contacted duct tape to ask them if they would give us a sponsorship.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So who's leading the forum project right now? Like the project of getting that set up?
I've just been discussing it with Ava. She started looking into it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean-
checking things out, but from what I heard from what Blanche, what you just said, you have more experience than me already.
Well, I mean, I have a .com that needs its domain, paid for the next year, but I mean, with a couple of hours, I could go and have a working forum for us on my website.
That PHP BB, is that something that you have to know PHP to work with it, or it just sort of helps to know PHP?
It helps to know, like, if you know PHP, then you can go in and specifically edit it and specifically customize it. Now, people like me that don't know what they're doing, you can go to the free PHP BB website, find modules, install them, add functionality, like, and make it look like you know what you're doing when you really don't. You just installed a bunch of crap.
All right. Well, I mean, that's my specialty, is making it look like I know what I'm doing when I don't. I kind of like the idea of just, I mean, any of these bulletin board systems are going to have the essential features that we're looking for, I think. I almost feel like we should just pick one and go with it and then learn what we need to learn in order to make it work, rather than, if nobody has any experience or preference, like, maybe we should just pick one and go with it.
Yeah, I agree with
Well,
that.
it really depends on where you want to host it, because, like, if we host it on my website, I mean, the way that web hosting pad is set up, there's a place where I just go in and click that I want to install this PHP BB onto my website, and they do it all. It's literally a click of a button for me, and we have a forum.
Could we do
bare
something?
bones.
I think this is possible, and I'm not 100% sure I'm not 100% sure if it would work, but could we do something like host it, because I'm just thinking we might want a unique domain name. Could we host it with your hosting provider and then edit the DNS records with your hosting provider to, say, like ddpforum.net goes to this page? Does it work like that?
Well, we can, but I go through webhostingpad.com, and if you prepay, basically what they do is they make you pay $14 a year plus, either $1.99 or $2.99 a month, and you prepay a year or 2 years or 5 years, however long you want to prepay, and then they give you unlimited, within reason, bandwidth and space on the website, and so for a minimal amount of money, we could just go set up something with them and have that back end where we just go in and click a button and bam, it installs it for us. I mean, it also does the same thing with WordPress. So we could have a WordPress front end and like a bulletin board if you guys wanted.
Yeah. And WordPress is a pretty full-featured CMS where we could actually store video assets in there and publish them out through that as well. I'm not 100% sure. I don't work with WordPress that much, but I work for a company that offers a similar and marginally competitive product, a video management system. And I understand that WordPress, it can be made to do some pretty complex stuff with managing video content as well if we wanted to get away from YouTube or whatever. But that's getting off the track. I just wanted to throw out, if nobody knows what they're doing to start out with, maybe we should just pick something and all learn together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say ideally something open source would be good. In keeping with the ethos, there's got to be something good. And I've got like 10 websites or something silly hosted right now, so that could potentially work as well.
All right. Okay, cool. So how are we gonna? Who's gonna do something on this to make it happen? How's that gonna? Gary, are you gonna look into this further, or are we gonna say let's go with X option?
Yeah, I mean I'm pretty overwhelmed with the manual and all this stuff. But if you guys wanted to look into it, and anyone here, I know Ava said she was interested in being a moderator of the forum as well.
Well, I mean, I could quite literally have a forum up and running tomorrow if we wanted to do it on my analogaddicted.com domain.
Okay.
I just
be okay with that.
know where to say I just need to be told yes and where to go and do it.
The one thing I guess is just redundancy, like if something ever happened to the person who was in charge of the domain, I wouldn't want to lose it all. So I wonder if there's a way we can mirror it or back it up automatically or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Or there's a way to like cloud host it.
Maybe we should look a little bit farther at open source
options.
options.
We can back up, and Analog Addicted is my personal company, so of all my domains, that's the most stable one. Now, we can always later transfer it over to another domain like the DDP crew.net or whatever, we decide we want to do later, but just to get it off the ground, I can do that tomorrow.
Yeah. Sounds good, and I guess we can all go out and talk to whoever is our friends and see what people have for recommendations.
Yeah, if we can get something done that fast, I think it's worthwhile to check it out. I mean, we don't have to be dedicated either.
Yeah, as long as there's a way to back it up and port it to somewhere else in case we decide for whatever reason that this platform doesn't work, I think there's a definite advantage to getting it set up quickly.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, it's a matter of like just moving the databases. And I've had this domain since 2009, I think. So cool. I'm not going to be getting rid of it anytime soon. So at least that much is secure for right now.
Right on. And it's really easy too. Like with the domains I've got hosted, a bunch of them just redirect. So you can just buy a domain. It's like $10 a year, and it can automatically redirect to any other domain. You don't even need hosting. So. Yeah,
and I know that my hosting offers that. I just got to go set it up. So I mean, we can always do that as well. Whatever works for you guys. I'm totally flexible.
Right on. Yeah, I was talking with Blair about this whole thing. Like right now, I've just got, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's just like a list of a few of the groups that have done or are planning to do their own parties on the DDP website.
Yeah.
But ideally, we want to just keep on decentralizing this thing as much as possible. So just kind of like serving as an example of that. So if there's a way, I think along the way it'll be good to investigate platforms, and ultimately if we can turn this into like I don't know how many of you are familiar with the term decentralized autonomous organization. It's kind of like a new idea that's been born out of the whole Bitcoin, blockchain, open ledger thing, where potentially there'll be just organizations that exist basically in the ether. So I think ideally it would be great to go to that, and there wouldn't be like just any single person controlling it. It would just be like a community that existed online that we would maintain ourselves. So that's what we were discussing, and it seems like a pretty good thing to work towards. if that sounds good to you guys.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like it.
Right
It seems
on.
like at some point it might be good to have a launch for the forum too, to notify everyone what's going on, because you guys have such a good following that I think it would be nice if there was a solid influx of people right away, because I've seen a lot of forums pop up with things that I'm into that don't really have a good launch, and they kind of like fade away because the first time people sign up, they don't feel like there's much going on. So I feel like if we have a massive influx right off the bat, it would help keep it going, keep everyone connected for a while.
That's a really good point. We should probably, as much as I would love to get knowledge together for this group starting tomorrow, I think it's probably really important that if we're going to do like a launch like that and push some publicity, that we do it right the first time and get that platform to be our open source final platform. So a related idea, and I don't know if we're going to solve this right now or not, but a related idea that we were talking about was putting the party manual on a wiki, and possibly preserving one copy as the original, and then just putting the wiki up and sort of seeing what happens with it. So I don't know, maybe there is. And I know that the manual is not quite ready for public release either, but maybe there's some happy medium. Like maybe our best plan is to say, okay, let's set up a Facebook group tomorrow, and then get our shit together about the wiki and the manual and the forum, and then when the manual is ready to release, do one massive publicity launch that includes the manual, the wikified manual, the forum in its final form, and whatever parties happen to be going on at that time.
Well, I just so happen through the same thing that'll install the WordPress and the forum will also install Wikipedia style wiki. It's
cool.
like the same code that runs Wikipedia.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah,
Right
so I mean, like, once again, just tell me to do it and give me a couple hours and I'll have it up.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think Mike said sounds like a great plan. We can just discuss this stuff a while longer on Facebook, and then one big launch that coincided with the manual would probably be the best, because my plan with the manual is to have it pretty intimately interlinked with the forum.
Yeah.
Like it'll describe something, and then there'll be a section. It'll just say click here, and then there'll be a direct link. So we can be building that as the manual's being finalized. And yeah, I think that'd be perfect.
Here's a question: should we just get a domain and hosting through this same hosting companies that is our own, and not like my websites? That way we don't have to worry about separating my work from the DDP, and then also, I mean, it'll have all the same features, so we can do all this on our own, and be working on it, be developing it while we're working on all this other stuff for the launch.
Yeah, I think a dedicated one would be great. My buddy he's doing a thing called Decentral, which is these nodes of decentralized community incubators around the world that he wants to do. And
is that Texture?
It's a guy he's involved, but it's a guy in Vancouver. Actually, I just remembered this is live, so I'm not going to say the name of the domain in case someone watches this and takes it.
Sure. Gotcha.
But I was thinking if we could do that, and then ideally the whole thing would be transparent, like the finances and stuff. So if there could be this dedicated domain for this whole idea, and it was just transparent, like how much the ongoing expenses were, like hosting and whatever, and there could be some kind of donation address.
Ideally, if we could pay for hosting and front-end web services in Bitcoin, that would be super prime. I mean, I don't know exactly what is on offer right now, but that would be awesome in my book. Just from the transparency standpoint, it would set us up right.
Totally.
I'll look into it,
That
Gary.
sounds good.
Maybe you and I, after this group conversation, you and I can talk about the whole website thing before I move forward. We'll talk about that, you and me.
Sounds good.
Figure out what we want to do for sure, but definitely, like I said, say the word and I can have it done tomorrow.
All right.
At the risk of like stepping in and taking control of this meeting, I was thinking one thing that might be good is there anybody on this call that's planning a DDP in the like planning their first DDP in the near future or something like that?
I have kind of I've got my setup and my boom boxes and everything's working. It's mainly getting a good solid group of people in my area to help me throw it. So I've got the makings of one, and I haven't thrown a big scale one yet. So, yeah. What were you thinking?
Well, and I saw that Josh was saying he's throwing his first one in May too. I was just wondering if you guys had questions specifically. So, Ava, have you and I been emailing about how to get people together and stuff like that?
I know that I emailed someone about parts, and I got some good parts from somebody, but I really forget, so I don't know. Maybe we should be emailing.
Oh, okay. I've been emailing with Josh, so I can send you that thread. But basically, I was just wondering, like, so I guess you and Josh are facing the same issue, and maybe I'll just do 2 minutes on getting people together. So here in San Francisco, I threw this party, my first party after moving here, and literally knowing nobody. I invited 20 people on Facebook, and by virtue of there having been a DDP in San Francisco, and also the DDP just being a fucking awesome idea, by the time the date rolled around, we ended up with about like 3,000 or 4,000 people invited. 300 people confirmed yes, and of those 300, about 30 actually showed up. But those 30 showed up with boomboxes. They showed up totally dressed. They showed up to party. And with those 30, I didn't think it was going to work right at the beginning. I was like, we don't have critical mass. It's a smallish group. But by the time we got to our second location, we had started interacting with strangers, and it was like immediately obvious as soon as that happened that shit was going to get really wild really quick. So San Francisco has a really competitive sort of I'm like reading things here, sort of event market, in the sense that there's a lot going on that competes with your event on any given weekend. So our numbers, our percentage of people that are invited and confirmed versus actually show up is probably a little bit lower than it might be in other places. Although, Josh, you're in Madison, right? Which is a pretty solid party town, so you might have a similar situation. That being said, I think that, if you're in a place where you have some sort of community, or even if you're not, all you have to do is start sending out some invites. And what happened for us was a party promoter, a club promoter, got a hold of the invite and invited like 1,000 people or 1,200 people.
Yeah, so it starts things rolling.
Right. As soon as that happened, it was like, we're going to be fine on numbers. If anything, we're going to have too many people. So as much as I hate to say, like, reach out to club promoters, that was what made the difference for us as far as getting a bunch of numbers right from the start.
And you said you thought 30 people initially was probably the perfect size for your first one?
The size was absolutely perfect. We had about 18 boom boxes that I brought out. 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5 people brought their own, and it was completely manageable. Completely manageable. At our peak, we probably had about 200 people, but 20 boom boxes is only going to put out a certain amount of sound, so the crowd just physically can't get that big. We went on the train, we went on public transportation, we went to a bunch of locations, and we finished up in a park that was closed, and dealt with security, and it was a really manageable, and it was just the right number of people, enough people to get the party started, not too many people that it was too crazy. So I would say, if you can shoot for somewhere in that number, maybe a little more, maybe a little bit less, you'll probably be in really good shape.
All right, that's solid advice. Thank you.
How did it go for you, Blanche? How many people were at the...
Well, I'd have to go back and look at the numbers. We had about 120 confirmed, and I think at the beginning there was about 30 that showed up. We put boom boxes away because we had pulled out like 40 boom boxes. And so by the time it was time for us to leave, we were getting boom boxes back out again because there was more and more people that were showing up. But I think we started with about 30 and we ended with about 30, and we had about 50 to 60 in the middle. We have been learning that for a crew, depend on your friends and your family and the people that are closest to you who hear you rant about boomboxes all the time are going to be the ones who you're going to depend on the most. Now, there are other people that are going to show, that are going to be picked up along the way, who are going to show, for instance, like Rose and like Matt, for me, that they're committed to the cause. But it's my friends who help me put all the batteries in the boom boxes. It's my friends who are hanging out with me watching movies, testing the batteries, things like that. So don't worry about if your crew is going to be there or not. It's going to come. The problem that we have here in Austin that, that like Michael may or may not have experienced is that we try not to get too big. Austin knows about the DDP. Austin likes the DDP. And if we just go up on Facebook and put an open invitation, we're gonna have like 1,000 people show up. So sure. Our struggle is separate. Our struggle is keeping it small and trying to get enough people to come so that we can get the experience we need, so that we can handle 1,000 or 2,000 people. But it's slow going. We're gonna do another one probably in March because I have something else in April, so probably in March. But not during South by Southwest.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not during maybe the weekend before or after, but that's our plan. But, don't be scared to get your friends. Be like, come on, dude, you want to carry this megaphone. Just tell them to stay on the sidewalk. Which, by the way, that was something that we discovered because our microphone wasn't working, so we couldn't talk to the crowd through the boom boxes. Yeah. So I had a megaphone, and it was great. I was talking crap to people who wouldn't dance with us, and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, megaphones are great. If you want to have a good old time, get a megaphone. You start saying stuff, people laugh. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had one as well, and we had the exact same problem that by the end of the night, I had my wireless mic on mute instead of turned off all night, so it was transmitting, but transmitting nothing, and the batteries had died. So thank God we had that megaphone at the end of the night, because that was when we had to deal with security and all that stuff. So, I mean, bring 2 megaphones for sure. Definitely worth having. Although I will say that I through the DDP in San Francisco with the help of total strangers alone. But no, I had one friend from Arizona who now lives sort of up in this area that helped me out. But it is totally possible to do this with the help of strangers alone. I recruited about 10 bananas and had about like 5 or 6 of them come through like in a huge way, and really like got the concept from the start and totally helped out. So if you're short on friends like I was, you can totally recruit strangers, just maybe recruit twice the number that you think you'll need.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. And I guess we had a similar experience when we started out. Probably the first 6 or 7 parties was never more than 50 initial people, and that was great just for understanding how it worked and the best ways to move, techniques on the mic, and preparing stereos. It's definitely something that takes a while to totally figure out step by step. But yeah, I guess that's...
Oh, sorry, Gary, was there one of your parties where you really got surprised by the scale? Like, where one of them that got pretty big, but you weren't really expecting it?
During the Olympics, there was the first and the second one that were just like completely insane. Like the second one, I don't know how many. The whole, like, there was like 1 million people downtown, and we had all these people, and somehow it kind of held together. It was like raining, and we ended up losing like 60 boom boxes in one night, which was like all of our stereos almost. I mean, it's crazy the capacity of this thing to actually work out regardless of the situation, but I don't know. That's one of the things I kind of wanted to discuss with you guys, to try and figure out is exactly how. Like, I don't think it's something that ideally would be, like, there's a limited number of routes you can really take in a city.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
in
what
order to keep
right now.
Yeah, like Vancouver's pretty good. There's a lot of different weird train routes and stuff. We've probably done like 10 or 15 different routes here. But once it starts taking off and getting bigger and bigger, like with small groups, you can move a lot. You can go to all kinds of, like, you can fit everyone on one train car or one bus. But once you have like 1,000 people, there's not a whole lot you can do. So I guess that's kind of something to figure out, is ideally how big these things should be and how frequently they should happen. Because there's upsides and downsides to both. But I think, like, to give people the full-on experience, you probably would want. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter, but once it gets over like 500 people, it's just a ton of work and a ton of money to do.
Well, I think that's just the important thing to recognize is, you know, you can do one at whatever scale you feel compelled to do it, but in a way you severely limit yourself once you get above a couple of hundred people. So maybe it's just a good idea to, you know, make that somewhat explicit and say, this is choose your own adventure. You can tell the whole city, or you can only tell your friends, and it's probably going to be about the same amount of fun for you and your crew either way, maybe less if it's bigger. So, you know, just make that like an explicit choice, like, hey, you can do this at any scale, but be very aware of the implications of doing it at large scale. Not the implications necessarily just for you, but also if you fuck it up at a huge scale, then, you know, there's implications for the, I hate to say it, but the brand of the DDP.
That's what I was also thinking about. You know, if one of these goes big and goes bad, you know, that might change things. I'm not sure. I don't know. I can't predict, but kind of a thing to make sure that we try to control.
It would change things for other big DDPs, that's for sure. I mean, it wouldn't change, you know, you could still go out and get your 10 or 15 friends and go out and, you know, start out with that number and end up with 100 or 200 people and have a blast, but it would definitely impact things for the big DDPs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say from experience, like the small ones, we used to have a ton of fun and be totally wild, but once you get into anything over 500 people, it's like super stressful and a lot of work, and you have to be like communicating back and forth with Tom leading the thing, like, and just constantly keeping people out of the streets and worrying about people falling off things. So it's definitely a lot more stress, a lot less fun, a lot more money to pull it off. So I'd say you definitely want to get as much experience as you can with smaller ones, at least initially. And
there's a cachet to doing smaller ones too. If you end up doing, you know, 3 or 4 small parties over the course of a year, everyone's going to fucking want to go to that party. Everybody's going to want to be on the street when that party rolls through, and not everybody's going to get to go. So, I mean, it's a kind of an asshole position to take on it, but that's kind of sick in its own way, you know?
Well, we've already decided that Austin's only going to have DDPs like twice a year. It's probably around South by and then probably around Halloween. Not saying it's going to happen at those times, but that's kind of what we're aiming for as far as our eventual schedule.
Seems fairly reasonable.
Josh posted a question here about how long parties lasted. And on the note of keeping things small, one like sort of conversation I've been having with the guy who plays Tom at the parties here in San Francisco is that, you know, we ended our first party at like 11 o'clock or something, and I really like you know, Brett's position is everyone's all amped up and we should provide some after party or like some, you know, final thing. And I feel like, you know, the party itself is so good that ending it is like the only sort of responsible thing to do, is say like, you know, we're not going to just let this drag out until people are shit-faced and falling asleep, and, you know, we're not going to let it end like a normal party ends. We're going to say, this was the experience, this is where the experience stops, you know, play Meatloaf and call it a night. So I think that ending early is actually totally legit. We went from like 7:30 to 11, and I and everybody else was totally satisfied. People complained about a couple of different things, including, for the record, that the music was extremely white, which I will totally take ownership for. I am an extremely white person, and I was DJing, so, but I didn't hear anybody bitch about, oh, I wish it went longer, or, oh, you know, we should have ended at a bar, or anything like that.
We've learned in Austin to, and this is a new discovery that we've made, you want to have a balance between length of route and time spent on route, because we had the problem of just being dang god exhausted by the time we got to the end, and, you know, here we are, we just marched like 3.5 miles, and that was just too much. And so this last one, what we did is it took about an hour going from stop to stop, but then we had like 8 destinations. And so we went for, you know, 3.5 hours, and we were not nearly exhausted as we were by the time we got done with the really long ones. We actually felt like it could have gone longer, kind of we're leaving people wanting for more but satisfied with what they got.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was some more food for thought is, you know, you don't have to go all over everywhere.
Yeah, and especially given the fact that you might want to do this again. You know, in San Francisco, there's not that many places where we can go that we won't have problems with, you know, residential folks. Like the official, you know, original DDP that got shut down there got a bunch of noise complaints in a residential area, and there's a fucking unbelievable treasure trove of great places that we could take this party, but they're all in residential areas. So we're really finding ourselves sort of limited to areas in like the financial district and along one big stretch of Market Street. So, you know, it's definitely worth considering, if you are considering doing this again, that you might not want to use all of your best locations on the first night.
For sure. Yeah, I think we've kind of found over the years that the golden length is kind of like 3 or 4 hours, probably 10 stops over a mile or two. But that said, like, I think there's one that everyone remembers where we went on this crazy ferry ride and all these transit buses, and it was like 13 hours long from start to finish, and that was like everyone's favorite ever. We somehow survived, but I think too, you also want to, like, ideally, you want people to be able to be there for the entire thing. So if it goes that, like, over 4 or 5 hours, you'll probably get people tired who don't get the full experiance.
No, it might not be bad to add a little bit of struggle. You know, it provides some social bonding.
Yeah, I don't know. Just do whatever. I'm sure it'll be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, the 13-hour one was the best. But a lot of that was on a boat, so we were just like in one spot or sitting. It wasn't hiking for 13 hours.
I have a ferry lined up for the next DDP that we do that I'm really excited about. It's only like a 15-minute ferry ride, but it dumps people out.
Ow. Sorry, Bossy, go.
That'll be good. I guess that was another thing too, is on the forum we could discuss music. It'd be a good place to post new tracks. Were you saying something?
I'm sorry, I like lost you guys and then dropped back in here. But
yeah, I think music on the forum is a really good idea.
Yeah.
It's one thing that isn't very transparent about the DDPs. You kind of have to be there to experience it, which is something that I think is very appealing if you haven't been or you didn't get to go. But it would be cool for the section of the forum to have a music area. It makes a lot of sense for people doing their own, because I think that's one of the most overwhelming things about it too. When the past DDPs have been known for having such good music, it's kind of intimidating for people like newcomers who aren't as confident about their DJing skills. So it'd be good to have that for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know if I sent it to you, but in the manual we've got like a starter list of like 200 or 300 songs or something. But maybe that could be like a good, like a wiki of songs that people could vote up or down on or something.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
I've compiled a Dropbox folder of all of those songs. So I don't want to, like, you know, we need to figure out a way to do this at scale that doesn't involve, you know, the fucking copyright holders, or like not doesn't involve them, but like fairly compensates everybody and doesn't involve stealing music. But for the small scale that we have, I can share that folder with anybody who wants it.
That's cool.
Great.
Awesome.
I probably need it because I somehow lost my, like, Tom and Gary's top 100 party tracks. I don't know what happened to it. There went half of my library. Yeah. So
Just
then I went to spend like $50 on music for the one we did in January because I can't bring myself to download music. So.
You wouldn't download a car.
Well, I mean, I've got an audio engineering degree, so I know what goes into, like, getting that music on iTunes, and I just can't do it. I just can't. I'm like, no, they deserve that 30 cents or whatever it is that they're going to end up getting.
I mean, ideally, I would love it if there was some way that we could figure out something like, you know, Rhapsody or radio. I don't know how the fuck you pronounce it. It's like radio without any vowels in it.
RDO or something.
Yeah, RDO, or like Spotify, or like use some sort of tool where we could get an offline library, but, you know, someone's actually paying for it. I think that's like the ideal scenario. That tool just may not exist, or we might just have to look into it a little bit further.
There are some services that you can use if you're a DJ that give you, like, because technically DJing stuff on the radio, like, you're not allowed to do that with Spotify or streaming services,
right?
Legally, even though people do it anyway. There are some services where you pay a lot more per month, and you get legal terms to those songs to broadcast, or I don't know if we do want to go down that route. I know that those exist, which is kind of cool.
I mean, that sounds like the ethical way to go. I feel like the problem we're going to run into is as soon as we start talking to those folks, we're going to be in the same category as like a commercial radio station, and it's going to be a $10,000 license.
Yeah.
Ouch.
But or $100,000 or $2,000. I have no idea, but I think we should at least explore that stuff and make a good faith effort to, like, find a way that's legal to, share this music. As much as we would love it all to be sort of free and decentralized and shit, it's not that way yet. And I think we all have a, respect for, musicians and artists and the people that create this stuff. So we should look into that for sure.
Yes, sir. So I guess anyone that's wanting to do your own that hasn't yet, if you had any questions, might be a good time.
Yeah, I have a quick question. I wasn't in New York yet when you guys did the New York DDPs, and I'm curious as to how you feel in terms of what Michael and Blanche were talking about in terms of how many people they invited versus how many showed up, and if you guys feel like that needs to be monitored, or if you feel like you just need to invite as many people as we can. I'm much farther away from Ava or Josh or Michael from still doing my first one, but I'm curious as to your take on New York.
Oh yeah, hi.
That's boss. That's boss. I don't know about other places, but in Austin, it's usually like a 3-to-1 or a 2-to-1. So usually, like, if 120 people reserve, then you can expect about 60-ish. No, our result was half of that. We had 30. So, depends on the event, I would say.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact ratios of confirmed to actually showing up. I know the first one we did, it was pretty hard to get the numbers up. I had a friend he organizes like the World Pillow Fight. Mm-hmm. So he had a huge mailing list of people. But now there's kind of like an established community there. Like I think on our mailing list there's a few hundred because we've done 3 parties there now. So there's a good solid core of people who will come and invite their friends. And that's another thing I was going to mention is I've got our mailing list it's divided up by different cities. So we've already got people on there in probably most cities across Canada and the US that I can connect you guys with.
That's awesome.
So you'll have like this core group in each one. And also through the people that have donated to the Kickstarters over the years, there's that network as well. So
I think we're going to either start out near or possibly even DDP through the huge pillow fight in San Francisco on Valentine's Day. I don't even know if it's the same World Pillow Fight thing or if it's just a Valentine's Day pillow fight, but that's going to be good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Make sure you got a video going.
Just to say what I said before, we had about a 10% ratio of people that said they were coming on Facebook to people that actually showed up. But San Francisco's a tough town, probably somewhat similar to New York, I would guess.
Yeah, definitely. That makes sense.
A question that maybe, let's see, that I was thinking about is, if I were to throw one, I'm wondering about security type things, like running into cops or other security people, and just, I don't know how it'll actually turn out, but just thinking about it personally, I wonder if they will listen to a kind of not so tall girl. I don't know. Will they take me seriously? I guess because like with Gary or the times that I saw with in Austin and stuff, you're wearing basically a football uniform or something crazy, and also you're a dude, and I don't know. How those of you who have thrown them dealing with cops or people like that. I guess this is going to be in the handbook too, but any tips or things like that?
Yeah,
you need to make some party armor.
All right. I need to suit up.
There's a big section on that in the manual. I think their primary concern, they're never angry about what's going on. They're curious, and their primary concern just is that everyone is safe.
Yeah.
So the main thing, I think, just to drive home is that everything's under control. You're keeping people out of the street so they're not going to get hit by cars. It's just like a celebration. It's not a protest.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever we deal with cops or security, we usually, if there's more intense music, we'll switch it up to like Neil Diamond or something. Everyone's in a good mood. But there's probably like 2 pages of text or more that goes over all this stuff in the manual too.
Great.
Yeah, I think just the main thing is just like safety is what they're primarily concerned about. We found too that security guards are generally a lot, I don't know, like cops. We've just been amazed by how like we're always respectful to them, they're respectful back, they're like super professional and helpful. They usually end up just leading the party half the time and giving us an escort down the street, which is just insane. But security guards seem to be more on edge, like worried that they're going to get fired if they do something wrong. So ideally you want to try and avoid security guards or security guarded areas if you can. But nothing really ever happened that was a huge problem. We just kept moving if it was an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one thing that, I mean, we ran into, like I said, we ended our party at a park that was actually closed, and the security guard came up and was giving us some, was hassling us a little bit, but, I personally made it very clear that, we're all on the same side here. I'm with you. I'm trying to keep people out of the fountain. I'm trying to make sure everybody's safe, as Gary was saying. And I think that as long as you keep the vibe super friendly and respectful, it can work out really well. 2 things that I will mention, as far as looking authoritative, I cannot overestimate the power of wraparound shades like Gary is wearing. I wore some to a party the other night, like not a DDP, and people were asking me if I lived there. It was like I literally owned the place. So those are good. The second thing is something I'm contemplating doing for this DDP coming up is going through this mall that's like it's like a semi-private but open public space, and I think we're going to try, this is Gary's idea, to like sneak through and play like in the Hall of the Mountain King, like something, like very like sort of pizzicato, like sneaking orchestral music, and like get everybody in there, rage, and then be like, all right, we're getting out, everybody like, tiptoe out of here. So if there's a place that you have to go through or you want to go through that there's going to be security, like maybe the way to do it is that way. We'll find out.
Yeah, we've definitely taken that approach a few times. Like when we snuck into that, it was the Hilton Hotel in Houston, Rose was talking about earlier. We just, like, you can totally just pause the music and play silence, and then you can just go like shh over the mic, and you can get in anywhere. I think the main thing is to keep moving. Like, I mean, it's not illegal to just dance through an area, but I think if you stick around, that could be considered loitering. But as long as you keep moving, I think it's pretty much a gray area. If you're not, like, nothing's getting broken, you're not, like, disturbing shoppers or whatever. At least not in a destructive way. Yeah, we've had some good adventures in security guarded areas, definitely. But yeah, I don't know. We're pretty excited to see this all finally taking off after 5 years, and hopefully, I've been saying it for a while, but hoping to have the final draft of this manual done in the next few weeks and out to all you guys to get your feedback on.
Hell yeah.
And then out in the world, and we'll see what happens.
You should probably, instead of sending it to us to get our feedback, you should probably just put it on a private wiki somewhere.
You mean for everyone to see?
No, for us, like for this group. Because if we're going to try that as an experiment, like let's try it as a sort of internal experiment, and then if we like how it goes, we can open it up, or we could start from scratch and open it up. I don't know. Just a thought. Instead of like dealing with emails with people's comments or whatever like that.
Yeah, I wonder, do you guys, I've never really used wikis. I know there's wikis, and then there's like you can do like open Google Documents. You guys have much experience with those, or is there any other collaborative text editing stuff?
Well, it really depends on what you want to do. I mean, are we establishing a wiki that's going to be for informational purposes, or are we sharing documents? Because if it's just a document that you want us to read and say, hey, here are my comments, then Google may be better, at least for this stage of the process.
There is a site called PenFlip, which, if you guys are aware of GitHub, which is like version control for code, there's a dude from GitHub who went over and created this. I can just submit it over here. But it's pretty easy to get on and put a document on there, and people can make comments and suggest changes, and Gary could, here, I'll submit it. And Gary could approve or not. So I've put some stuff on there, and it's kind of cool. You can set it to private, I think. But yeah, if you guys want to take a look at that, that's a possibility, maybe.
Sounds good. Did anyone have any other questions while we're all here together? Or comments?
I'm just really happy to see all you guys here. I just think it's really cool.
Yeah, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's fun to see more faces.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. And like Michael was saying, in San Francisco, at least to me, like initially he'd moved there, he didn't know that many people, and then just doing the DDP brought tons of rad new friends out of the woodwork. Like, this thing just seems to attract the awesomest people. So,
if you can't find a scene, make a scene. It's like my new motto.
That's actually what I'm learning over here in Austin between the DDP and my DJ stuff. It's like, oh, well, I guess I'll book all of my own parties.
Yeah, do it yourself. It's the only way.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess that's another interesting thing too, is we've never really gotten around to experimenting that much with like other uses of a decentralized sound system, like some kind of a private stationary party or anything like that. But there's definitely tons of territory.
Very briefly, I was talking with a guy who does a thing called Worst Party Ever in San Francisco, which is like a very sort of aesthetically tight, curated event. And one of the projects he's done is he's set up multiple transmitters in single locations, and it was a narrative thing that played out over like as you walked in between these different FM stations. And I think that his were separated pretty far so that you wouldn't ever it wasn't like you had a boombox and you walked between them and it bled over, but you could totally do something like that just as, like one possible application.
Yeah, at one point in Boston I participated in an MP3 experiment. So you would download the MP3, go to a place, everyone's listening to it on their own, and you start it all at the same time, and it tells you to do stuff. I think it's organized by the same guy who did the pillow fight stuff, Gary. Improv Everywhere, maybe?
Yeah, that's Improv Everywhere. The pillow fights is a different guy, though.
Oh, okay. But, MP3 experiment style stuff is kind of cool. Like, they had people show up in one of 4 colored shirts, and then they had people mix around and do particular things based on their shirt color. And
I saw that, yeah.
So it's a little more specific and structured. So, yeah, there's definitely room for that sort of stuff with DDP.
There's also Unsilent Night, which goes on in a lot of cities. I think it started in New York, which is a piece of music composed in 4 parts. It's like an ambient piece of Christmas music, basically, and it's designed to be burned onto CDs and put on cassettes, and everyone gets together and has one of these 4 parts in their boombox and hits play at approximately the same time and sort of walks around. And it's like a an annual Christmas tradition. So I reached out to that guy. I never got a response back, but just as additional uses of lots of boomboxes.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with the. Sorry, go ahead, Blanche.
Oh, I was just going to say, we're doing the sound camp at Flipside where we're going to be broadcasting on the FM transmitter and using the boomboxes as part of our sound system. Of course, we've got to buy a whole bunch of batteries to do this, but, the idea is that, of course, we're going to DDP through the event a couple of times over the course of the weekend, but if we've got our DJs up and running, you can come and grab a boombox and take our party with you, or hang out, or,
I'm
lots
do
of people
something...
are talking about doing little flash mobs of their own camps. Like, it'll be fun. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm going to do something similar, Blanche, at the Arizona Regional at Saguaro Man in May, actually.
Oh, cool. We'll have to compare notes, see how it ended up.
Yeah.
You were saying something there, Bo?
There's I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jeff Stark, but he's been doing a lot of kind of off the beaten path events in New York. He runs a mailing list called Nonsense NY, but he did a play on the Gowanus Canal, which is like one of the most polluted waterways in America. It's a super fun site. He did a play on the canal, like in barges that he built himself. Wrote the entire thing, and it took place like over a bunch of locations on the canal. And part of the audience was on a barge, part of the audience was on land and had to like physically walk to all these different areas. And they transmitted all of the score and the dialogue from an FM transmitter like centrally located, so they could get it through the whole area. It was really cool. I volunteered to work as one of the like boat tenders in the play. It was really interesting how they did that. And I don't think that they were aware of what you guys do either. They like kind of just had this idea and executed it. Because I asked a few of them and they hadn't heard of you. But now they know about you. So.
Was it boomboxes they used?
Yeah, it was a bunch of things. It was boomboxes, a lot of handheld radios. The score was pretty subtle. It didn't need to be very loud, so they didn't really need like big sound systems. It was mostly handheld FM radios, more so than boomboxes, but it was cool.
Yeah, is there a link to a video or anything?
Yeah, I'll send it. It was called The Dreary Coast. It was really cool. It's a very unique idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
I guess another thing, too, we were always kind of talking about that never happened is that a band could potentially do a show through a bunch of boomboxes without the need for a venue. I mean, I don't know how good it would sound, but it could be a pretty neat. Like you could throw a concert on the top of a mountain or something weird.
Good enough to dance to, probably.
Yeah.
So one thing that just occurred to me, I don't know if you guys have silent discos. I mean, we've got this crew called Silent Frisco here in SF that does silent discos in all kinds of like really awesome places where you can't have amplified music. They transmit, I think it's over Wi-Fi, to all these special headphones. And I just had this thought that it would be cool to throw a party with them where we did like a party that you have your headphones on and you hear one thing and you have your headphones off and you hear the other, because the boomboxes don't make enough sound where you would be able to hear them through headphones, whereas a normal sound system, you put headphones on, it doesn't really make that much difference. So that's a possible thought.
Yeah, you could probably do something really cool.
That's cool.
That'd be great. Another thing, I guess, too, is a bunch of people have contacted us over the year that want to do like synchronized sound bike rides. So that's another potential thing that opens up all kinds of new routes. Like if you're on bikes,
a
lot of new potential things make sense. But the only problem is just keeping people tight together.
There's bike parties in the Bay that do the same thing we do, except everybody has a different sound system, and they stop at like set locations that are marked out beforehand. So everyone has a chance to like regroup, and everybody knows what the route is beforehand. So I think it's definitely doable, and it would be super sick with a synchronized sound system. But it requires probably some more coordination with like local police or something, you know, or just really good location scouting where you can pick parks that are open and you can have, you know, a couple hundred people in with amplified music without getting hassled for a while.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing I was going to say is we've had Rayovac's been a sponsor for the last couple of years, and I was going to get in touch with them again and tell them about this whole autonomous DDP project we're doing, and hopefully they'd be down to give us at least a discount on batteries that would help everyone out. So
that would, yes, that's something that we've been needing for our Kickstarter budget, is to know how much Rayovac will or will not give us a discount on batteries.
Would anybody be interested in, I mean, I personally think we should explore how expensive it would be to order like a whole fuckload of rechargeable batteries and some like huge rechargeable, you know, some huge chargers that can handle like 10 or 20 batteries at once. I mean, I know it's an outrageous initial expense, but I feel like we should at least give it a shot, especially if we have like a direct line to someone inside Rayovac that we can ask about that.
Yeah, they gave us not like hundreds, but they gave us a bunch of rechargeables initially a couple of years ago, and like on tours it was just too hectic to keep track of it and plug them in and charge them. But like if you're doing small scale ones, I think it's totally feasible if they can. And
I think if you have reliable power and a place where you can lay all your shit out, it's not that big of a deal. If you're on a bus, it becomes a huge problem.
Yeah. It's just like if you buy your own, it's like $40 worth of batteries, I think, in each stereo. But if they'll give us a discount, like, it could be great publicity for them. And
I mean,
good help for us. We don't waste any.
And I mean, and then their batteries are in the boxes forever, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll get on them ASAP for sure.
Yay!
Hippies saving the world.
I guess that's the other thing too, is I guess most of you guys have probably seen the social stereo thing we've been talking about for a long time. My buddy just moved here a couple days ago, and he's volunteered to help kind of oversee that whole thing. Like, we've got, I think, 60 or 70 people that have emailed us over the years that want to help out in developing that. So that'll be going ahead too, and that'll be a fully rechargeable digital boombox that'll make all of ours obsolete one day. So
yeah, I really want to help on that where I can. That's where a lot of my experience in like electrical engineering and stuff would come in handy. So I'm excited for those. That'll be good.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And we're trying to figure out too what's the ideal collaborative forum for that as well. But I guess like the plan right now is just to send out a mass email to all these people and just get their feedback on the best way to collaborate, because it's like an open software, open hardware kind of thing. So
yeah,
I guess you guys will all just get updates on that as it happens.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, but yeah, really stoked for 2015. Should be a good year for Party Revolution.
Yeah.
Can taste that Nobel Prize already.
Well, we can all have a bite.
Good meeting, guys.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Right on. And yeah, I guess I'll just make it live and post the link if you guys want to share this with anyone, and I can share it with. There's also been like, I think 150 people have emailed us over the years that want to do their own DDPs, so this will be great to share with them. Give them a little view inside and answer some questions.
Cool. So just to recap for follow-up with what's happening right after this, are we setting up a Facebook group for just us and these particular plans and the...
Yeah, let's do that, and we can all be admins or however it works. I guess I'm going to talk to Blanche about website stuff, talk to Rayovac, and I guess we'll plan everything on through the Facebook group.
Okay.
Anything else?
Let's see if we can find some open source forum software.
Yeah.
and open source wiki stuff, I guess, would be the other two things.
Oh my God, Rose, you're a juggalo.
Oh, nice.
Oh man.
We got to take the DDP to the gathering of the Juggalos.
Oh my God. I have to say, as weird of a community as that is, I have like so much respect for them and like so much respect for that event. Like, those are some people that are getting fucking weird and doing it right. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
Very strict dress code.
Yeah.
Cool. Should we say goodbye?
I'm good if y'all are. Thanks for meeting tonight.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, nice to meet
Good night,
everyone.
everybody.
Yep,
You guys
nice
are
meeting
awesome.
everyone.
Bye.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.